Alright, so good show. We will actually do an actual analysis. Because,
And in Swiss, that essentially just puts
so we're gonna look at Drephen and Westballz.
losers from the get-go.
So I'm just gonna like show like some key points here. We're gonna like go through this video.
Grand finals and reset against QFAT and doubles. That's crazy. So Dewan is out here this event.
So early here, West does a really good job coming out the gate. In a lot of the early games, he reads Drephen's jumps a lot, and that's like one of the key reads West gets a lot. So catches a jump right here, and then like creates a really hard position and kills Drephen right away. So one of the key things about West is that West likes to go in and create pressure. He'll camp, here and there, but like if he feels he can overwhelm you, then he pushes the limit of trying to read your defensive option with jump, roll, shielding too much, and that's where West can become very intimidating. West plays a completely different style from Ginger. Ginger is more of a control-oriented Falco that he will go in. He does take some risks, but he's not as willing to go in raw as much as like Wes is on reads.
Oh man. Yeah, West been looking clean this weekend. I'm not for sure.
So that's like a misinput from Drephen.
Motivated to try
So like nothing's really working. I think one of the big things that Drephen's like kind of testing here is like how does Wes defend against attacks? Like how does he DI? Wes is really good at CCing and SDIing, so a lot of the things that may have worked, like that jab into a potential grab, doesn't work on Wes because he's really good at SDI.
from what I've seen him say on Twitter. Right.
So he's still trying to figure it out. Those down airs kind of questionable, but we'll see.
It happens. Yeah. Melee is like that.
So Wes is like pretty much moving here. I don't understand quite why West never DI'd the double jab really well. Like it happened a lot, and you just have to DI up and away. I think as Falco, I'm not 100% sure, but West against me when I used to do the double jab, he would always DI it. I don't know why he does it in this case.
Like he got better. He told me he's been practicing a lot. He said, "Yeah, I've been playing like 8 hours a day." Right.
So West is feeling himself like it's like pretty confident.
How hungry Westballz is.
So I'm gonna like point out some like spacing things.
I think he's had some rough runs.
So it's like highlighted here. One of the biggest things you can do that's like really bad against West in particular is like jumping in on him. Like he's really good at if he's in shield or playing a defensive posture, he's actually really good at defending against it. And I'm gonna just point out a few things. Like he jumps in, gets out of position here, and he's in the air. And so a lot of these callouts by Drephen, like Wes was ready for. Like we see, it's pretty well established that Wes likes to wait for the jump, and why Sheiks will tend to like to jump here is because like we want to avoid the lasers, so you want to like kind of stay mobile. But a lot of these jumps get called out by Wes. Like that happens, and then he gets out of position, in this sequence here. So that's like the sequence one. And then he's in an awkward spot there, gets caught again. And then we're going to see a shield grab, but then he learns very quickly that you can't shield grab Westballz. That's like kind of a disrespect check, but I think he learns later that you can't do that. So a lot of the things like as Sheik, you can get away with this in a best of 5. You can check like how good the tech skill of the Falco is, and you can kind of like tech skill check them. So like doing shield grabs in certain spots or doing nairs out of shield in certain spots, like you can do a lot of these little things just to test them to see if they're capable of executing. Because if they're not, then that's something you can always use in your back pocket. If it doesn't work, then you can just stop right there and just keep in mind saying, okay, I have to respect the fact that their tech skill is good enough to not get abused by like a tech check.
Westballz styling a little bit.
Drephen gotta take a break on that one.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so this is like a kind of interesting mix-up. God, I need to slow this down. So here, most people would like to grab. The real threat here is grab from Sheik, and this is a core principle in all fighting games. And what is the big threat? What's the implied threat here? And like how do people play around it? So Sheik in this scenario, every Sheik loves to grab, right? So like, if you are aware as Falco, you know that you can't be holding shield anymore. So what are your options? You can spot dodge, you can roll, you can let go of shield and try to move around, right? To just beat it, force a whiff grab. But if Drephen knows that you're scared of the grab and you're going to pick a counterplay, then he can go Yomi level 3 here and just go for an option that he thinks will counter your option to grab. And that's one thing that Drephen is really good at, is he's very aware of what his threats are relative in position. In this particular case, it's grab. But then he understands like that his opponent is scared of that option, so he thinks like, what is the option that beats out that option? So it's like, my option is most likely grab. What does my opponent do to counter grab, and how can I counter that? And he does an F tilt here. That seems janky, right? Like, who just walks up and F tilts? But in this context, it actually works really well, and that's why it works well. He doesn't get the edge guard though. Alright, that's like a good edge guard. So Drephen, has some like modern tech. It's like decent. Alright. Gets mangoed here. The drift away, this is classic. So we want to make another point known, just a point of emphasis, is that Drephen is learning slowly that you can't shield grab Wes. It's better to do other options. So notice this whole time, like, granted Drephen's behind, but he's trying to like run in at bad times. This is something that's going to get fixed as the set goes on. Bad tech skill, not looking good. Reads the jump again, by the way, from Drephen. It's a really hard spot, so very clean. So it's not overall. This set's like not looking good for Drephen, but gradually we're going to see some adaptations, which is what I want to point out, that like makes Drephen really good. So obviously not looking really good here. Gets a DI mix up. Okay, that's like unfortunate. This is like where like the momentum starts to shift. He gets a lead, which is really important.
What you think about this pick, man? I'm kind of rocking with it. Yeah, I think.
So one of the things you're going to notice as this set goes on is this. It's called Who's Gonna Jump First. That's really bad, but you're going to notice that Drephen is going to stay grounded. And that's one of the key adaptations that is going to happen first, because if Falco commits to a jump, the moves and the range he has are kind of limited, and playing off the ground as Sheik and jumping after the Falco jumps, like let's say they jump and then you jump and then they land, then you get a pretty good aerial that he's forced to shield that puts you in advantage. But if you jump first and Falco's on the ground, it's actually not that good for most spacing considerations. So look at how he doesn't contest in the air until like the Falco jumps first and then later lands. This is like really good. A little bit of a minor adjustment there. A little late on the follow-up. That's been like an ongoing problem. Okay, I'm like... And this is like one of the weaknesses of Wes. This has always been kind of like an issue. Wes is pretty good at racking up damage. But if he down smashes here and Westballz and Drephen omps attacks, you can just literally down smash again. Like, there's no reason not to go for down smash and worry about the omps attack. You're literally right there. And you can just do another down smash. If he keeps omps attacking, then you can eventually just do a down tilt and kill him. Like, there's no reason why not to down smash. Because he's facing the wrong way, you can't probably down tilt. And as a result, Drephen gets a little bit of extra credit there. It's 17. It's like a full nair, which is a decent amount of damage.
Damn. Good stuff from Westballz. Taking that stock.
Wes reads another jump. He goes for a shield grab again, so he's not like really learning. He's like 0 for 3 at this point in shield grabs. Oh, and Wes reads the jump again. That's been a consistent read for him. So you might be thinking at this point, like, Wes is just running him over. That game 1 was a 3 stock, right? And this game should be heavily in West's favor, right? Like, aside from the early kill death. So now this is like the first point where Drephen finally learns, right? You can't shield grab Westballz. So what can you do? He rolls. And that's like one minor adjustment that we're seeing here. What Drephen has tried 3 times to shield grab. Doesn't do it because he gets punished every time. And now we see Westballz pressure, which you can actually narrow in between the 2 shines. But he opts to roll and just get out of the situation. And now he has center stage. Still gets punished though. West is good at CCing. Oh, and he messes up. Ooh, a lot of pressure. So it's like looking pretty good, right? Like aside from that early death at like 60% on Stock 1 Falco, like West has been dominating. That's a really straightforward recovery. Or like, I think West could have done something else. Like I think once he commits to the jump, I think he needs to go lower and then potentially show that he can side B. But once he's below the stage, he's kind of dead. So it's kind of a hard spot. But maybe you just like wait to go lower and then you can potentially react to how Sheik jumps in either side B or up B. But because he up B'd so close, it made it a very easy solve. I also want to point out here that like I think personally Sheik has a bunch of... I think Sheik has an easier time in the matchup because like there's a bunch of options and mix-ups for Sheik that lead into a knockdown, into like a tech chase. And there's a lot of opportunity to get Falco off stage where like I think Sheiks are better at flowcharting how to follow Falco off the stage. And we kind of saw that although West could have done a better job edge guarding Sheik, I don't think it's as easy to execute. Whereas I think Sheik's like coverage is way better. So I think in all aspects of the matchup, I honestly think Sheik wins.
How flashy West has been looking, it's real close.
I thought that was actually gonna hit. That's like the first shield grab, but it's a unique case. So once again, one other thing that West is really good at is punishing CCing against a weaker Falco that doesn't abuse crouch canceling at these percentages. That probably wouldn't be a shine, but West is really good at like understanding like how to like abuse CCing, and we see this opening come up. We're seeing a lot of control. Drephen jumps out. It's not looking good for him. That's really rough needles. That's actually like a really good like turnaround. He almost like missed the edge guard there, I thought. So now we see this. Like Drephen's down 2 stocks to 1. It seems like complete control from Wes. Still chasing the air. I don't think he's fully figured it out yet. Gradually finding out some things. Gets another shield grab. Yeah, this is Sheik. This is like the matchup.
Hey man, that's the life of Falco sometimes.
I almost think that actually in this matchup, it's this scenario is almost even. Like 1 tech chase, 1 knockdown. Falco still has to get a bunch of openings. Okay, so now we're seeing another adjustment. Instead of going for like shield grabs and staying in shield, he's now slowly realizing he can nair. Leads into a grab. Gets a tech chase. This is really good. Wes mashes out. Diaz away. Okay, so this is where it's starting to happen. The gameplay is starting to happen here. So we've seen so far in this set that Drephen was the one jumping into Falco. Now he's staying grounded. And the reason why this is happening, and maybe this is why Drephen started just jumping around so much, is the context of what he's had with Ginger. Ginger loves to shoot lasers and keep horizontal control. If you guys notice in this match so far, Wes has not been shooting lasers. So why you jump is to avoid getting locked down by lasers, but I think Drephen is realizing in this very moment that Wes doesn't shoot lasers. If that's the case, he can stay on the ground and he can fight toe-to-toe, and if Wes is going to be the one jumping into him, that's really good for Sheik. So we're starting to see that unravel right here. Look at how much Wes is jumping. So this whole sequence is jump. That's pretty risky because you can dash dance, grab Falco, and if Falco lands, then you can put him in shield, and you have a very favorable mix-up. So all these losses in neutral from West that's going to happen from this point on is because West starts jumping way too much. So if you look here, he lands, but he's going to have a cooldown here, and then Drephen knows that he can either force a roll, or if Falco just stands here, then he's going to eat either a fair, or he's going to have to shield it. Very strong positional advantage for Drephen. And that ends up working, and he gets the kill. So that's going to be a reoccurring pattern here, is he picked up that West is not lasering. So now we go to a more horizontal stage. So it's going to be very different because you have more room to laser. So we're going to see how this points out. So he reacted here. So another adaptation here, he's realizing that shield grabbing hasn't been working. Now he's going to limit test Westballz to see if Nair works. He Nairs here, works. West misses a punish. So that Nair is actually not really good, but he's trying to, I think he's examining that he can actually Nair out his shield. So that's another adjustment we're seeing. Oh, and he misses a follow-up. So now we're seeing lasers. So now we're seeing the jumping happening. So now West calls out the roll. So this is really good. This is a really good start from West. But I want you to notice something. We're gonna point this out again. He stays. Drephen is shielding, and Drephen's grounded. Who's the one jumping here? It's Westballz. Westballz is jumping, and Drephen gets a really good anti-air here. He gets an anti-air on that jump because he's staying grounded. So he gets that anti-air. It was really good, and then he gets his punish. Gets a decent amount of damage. Okay. And here's another thing. West, in this very moment, I really do believe we're seeing another change in gameplay here. Another adaptation really good from Drephen. West is not grabbing. And I know for a fact that Drephen has picked up on this because no Sheik likes to hold shield for this long. Unless they are very confident that the Falco is not going to show a grab. Look at how much shielding he's doing. It's because he's not getting grabbed. And so that whole sequence came down to two things. West is jumping, or Drephen is now staying grounded, and he's also, because West doesn't throw that many lasers, and West doesn't grab. And Drephen has picked up on both of these things at this very point in time.
Oh, but I'm about to go like Drephen, try to go ham so I can get 4 of these practice too, man. This dude's looking crazy. Yeah, for sure.
So really good call out here. This is actually really good by Wes. I want to point out some good things about Wes. Wes forces the jump, stays underneath, and gets his up tilt. That's actually really good follow-up. That's a really good shark from Wes. So really, that's like one of the things that Wes is really good at, is that when he recognizes that Sheik's in the air, or like he can call out double jumps really well and follow spacing because he's so fast. So this is like a really good sequence. Okay, so like, again, we're seeing this whole moment, right? Tafo is jumping again.
Yeah, and maybe game 1 was just a sign.
And the other important thing is we saw Drephen jump into Westballz and try to attack West when he's in a defensive position. West is really good at up tilt, back airing, doing stuff out of shield. Westballz, Drephen is making West make the correct play. And against Sheik, this is really hard. So we're noticing that Drephen's not giving West freebies by jumping carelessly. And he's also saying to West, you're going to have to play the mid-screen game. And you're going to have to outplay me and outread my defensive options enough time to even get an opening. And so he's basically telling West, like, I'm not very confident in your ability to get me mid-screen. And I'm not going to jump. I'm just going to hold shield and make you beat me in my shield.
Yeah, and maybe game 1 was just a sign of like he had literally just played none. Sometimes you gotta you get taken aback.
He gets it there. That's actually pretty good. So he wins that scenario. Eliminate stage. But again, Wes is jumping. this is eventually this will cost him. Eventually this will lead into a bad trade and put him out of position. West wins that. So let's play this all sequence again, right? He gets the first hit, but he's still not in a great position here. Gets caught and then gets punished. Drephen takes a little bit of damage, but West is not in a good spot to, get his game set up. That was kind of janky. It would have been really cool. But again, look at how this whole play starts off right here. Awkward. That's not bad. But now we see this shield, and Falco is now full hopped, and now Sheik can shark this, and this puts a really rough spot where either Falco has to double jump, or Drephen gets underneath and potentially gets an anti-air dash attack, or gets Falco and shield with an aerial when he lands, or can even potentially get a grab. These are all like really hard spots for Falco to deal with if Sheik is close enough. And so look, that was really close. I mean, West ended up spot dodging in that spot, but West jumping so much is putting him in a ton of danger. Oh, that was actually pretty janky. So again, coming from the air, you are playing with fire. So he has to come down, right? And this time he waits the back air and then goes in for the grab. Doesn't get a punish because it's a little bit difficult at high percentages and it turns into reverse, but I just want to point out that you're really playing with fire as Falco, where sometimes it works and you get your 10 damage or you get your random shine or janky dare, but it's not a sustainable strategy against Sheik. Or even Marth for that matter. Okay, so again, I think West is keenly aware, and Drephen does this from a little bit too far away. But notice how the moment West full hops, Drephen runs in. West notices that and it narrowly escapes, but you can see why full hopping is like playing with fire. Especially from Sheik, or anyone that wants like grab and has good horizontal mobility. And the other issue here is that I want to point out is that if you're playing this full hop game, even if you get a hit as Falco, it's a back air. It's a single hit, so you're really playing for maybe laser damage or maybe 14% off a back air. It's not going to lead to substantial openings, but if you get caught, like you're getting grabbed and you take 60, like it's really hard to make this a sustainable strategy that wins out in the end. Look, another full hop. So that whole sequence here, look, he catches the full hop again. And it's a little janky, but look at the openings he gets. Another full hop, but he gets out. Another full hop. If West, it's like kind of a mix-up for Drephen there. I think he was calling out for something else, but it's playing with fire. And again, this all starts off. Look, he jumps. West is out of position again, and this is probably going to cost him a lot. Look, and it gets him killed. Look at how occasionally leads to, we're going to go back a bit. Occasionally, these full hops lead into meaningful damage for Wes. You get some trades, but it's one hit. He gets a hit here because Drephen's late. He gets another hit there, but it's only one damage. Drephen's late again. But then you look, just like one bad full hop leads into something like this. He lands, and Drephen can either dash attack it, or he can, run up grab. Like, it's a 50-50, and you get situations like this that come up. That's unfortunate West didn't get that kill. So look, like it's like playing with fire here. Drephen's just looking for a moment where West full hops incorrectly. And West is, executing the strat pretty well. Like, he's getting some hits in, but it just takes that one opening. So it's kind of like fool's gold where, like, you win a few neutral exchanges and you feel like the strategy is good. But it's like playing rock, paper, scissors or, like, some, like, weighted dice where, like, let's say, like, we roll a dice, and if Westballz rolls a 1, 2, or 3, or 4, he gets $2. But if it rolls a 5 or 6, like, the other person wins $10. You can see why most of the time West wins. He gets that $2 at a time, but if it rolls a 5 or 6, like that other person's coming out ahead in the long run. And that's kind of the issue I have with this core strategy of doing these back airs coming from full hops rather than just lasering and forcing Drephen to make a play and to jump and then catch him in the air. He's saying that I'm going to jump first, and Drephen's just pretty comfortable with it. And you're seeing these trades and this attrition slightly go into Drephen's favor as time goes on. Of course, missing edge guards is pretty bad, and I think that can be cleaned up. I'm not saying that it can be fixed, but just like a look at how things can quickly turn around. Just a down air there, it's a little bit janky, leads into some damage, could have led to a kill. So this is looking pretty good. Janky dares. This is actually pretty janky. So look, so like Falco from the air. This is, granted, he got launched from the up smash, but look at how like Sheik just loves this spot. Falco has to land somewhere, and look at how just Sheik is just waiting to harvest and collect. Look, he collects there and he wins. Yeah. So I think this is kind of where like another issue comes up, and I think the good thing about FD is that it subconsciously tells you that you have to laser. You laser. I don't know what it is about FD. It's a flat stage. I think Falco's just immediately just subconsciously just say, I'm lasering. The issue with Yoshi's here, I think this is a really good, it's a pretty decent Falco stage because of the ceiling. You can get the shine kill, but I think it further exacerbates the issue that because it's it's a horizontally small stage, you're going to be playing from angles that are diagonal as opposed to horizontal as opposed to like diagonal, or like you're going to be playing a very vertical game, and that means a lot of jumping. But we haven't seen any like concrete horizontal game plan from Wes. And so what's going to end up happening here very likely is Drephen realizes he can just stay on the ground and just wait for Wes to jump into him. And Drephen doesn't really need to overextend and jump and force pressure onto Westballz because Westballz isn't really going to camp. He's not going to throw a ton of lasers. So Drephen's going to be perfectly comfortable saying, hey, I'm going to zigzag around and I'm going to make it seem like a down air from the top platform is going to be good. But it's actually not. So we're already seeing this game plan come out. They're playing a very vertical game, and in Drephen's eyes, he's very comfortable here. He's like, okay, like I'm gonna make you outplay me to get an approach, and if you're wrong, I'm gonna fair you. I'm gonna dash dance grab you. I'm gonna get some sort of opening that's gonna get me a ton of damage. So we're seeing that here. So West jumps into, and then he just gets the dash dance grab that I mentioned right here. Wade dashes out, grabs, and that's really scary as Falco. And it's relieving that West didn't get more damage. Again, look. So we see this. Wes is caught in the air, and Sheik just has to wait for him to land. Look, he waits it out, gets a dash attack, another opening. So the main point of lasers is to force Sheik to move. It's not to hit them. It's not necessarily even to get an opening. It's either for Sheik to shield and then force them to roll, or force them to jump, and then you put them out of position. It's not really directly to get a combo started. You rarely get combo starts off of lasers. It's to just get positional advantage and force them to be in a rough position. You set up into that. So this like game plan from Drephen's really good. In the first game we saw Drephen was jumping a lot. He was jumping into Wes's defensive options. We saw a lot of shield grabs, but now like at this point, like with how Drephen's adapted, like you have to ask, like, what is a sustainable game plan for West to get openings? West was getting openings left and right, but now Drephen has slowed it down. He's not giving freebies, and now like West is struggling here.
Up 4 stocks to 3, potentially about to knock Westballz out of the event. Drephen
So that's like the first like grab of the game, in my opinion.
qualifying. This is crazy, man.
Tries to go for shield grab, that's like usual bad habits. He shouldn't be going for that. Wes is getting some openings, so this is looking pretty good. And this is actually a really good bait. This is a really good adaptation from Wes. You can always, in this spot, if any character, Sheik, Marth, is heavily looking for this grab, you can bait them into going in by almost landing and then using your double jump and baiting a whiff. Unfortunately, I don't believe this leads into anything. He's a little bit slow there. Okay, so that's really good. This is like doable. I think there were some mistakes where Drephen deviated from the game plan. He tried to shield grab, which is a no-no, and he like jumped into West, which hasn't been really working. So this is where the jumping becomes an issue. So West double jumps and Drephen catches him for damage. He catches him again. So 1, 2. And then Wes is caught jumping. He calls it out, gets more damage. Oh, that was like kind of janky. But even then, it's just like a rough spot to be in, to be below Sheik like this. Like other Sheiks could go to the side and back air. I thought it was like unfortunately just a situation that was janky in the sense that Westballz wasn't aware that I was gonna hit the feet. So this is also like really hard for Falco. So West does some good reads here. He reads the jump to platform, calls it out. That's been a consistent thing that's been really good from West. Really hit hard to beat Sheik on platform though. Doesn't fall up there. It's really hard for Falco to get a consistent combo. But he's doing pretty well. Spot dodge grab. The Drephen. Oh my gosh, that's like so janky. That's just a shook mind game read. Really good back air shield. Wes is really good at that. Goes the other way, unfortunately there. Randall's still like in play. Unfortunate reverse hitbox. That's actually like a Drephen special, just like reading the timing out of that. I don't even know how to explain that. But I would like to just point out here that Drephen is not scared of grab here again. So like when you see a player that's going to hold shield for more than 2 attacks, that indicates that you're not grabbing enough. And like it's a really good awareness thing from Drephen to like know that like it's like very rare for West to throw grabs. And we're gonna all point out here that yeah, Falco grabs aren't good, but why you need to throw out a grab here is like for the fact that if I as Sheik can get away with shielding 4 attacks in a row, like you have to keep me honest in my shield. You can't just drain my shield and just hope that you poke something. Like to get me to stop just spamming shield, you have to grab me so that I can threaten it. And I can see from Westballz's perspective too, like grab doesn't lead to much rewards, and that like also opens you up to getting near out of shielded. But at this point in the game, Drephen hasn't thrown that many nears. Like he's respected West's double shines and his aerial movement. So like the context here is that West could probably realize like, hey, like he isn't throwing near out of shield. Like I can start grabbing him without worrying that can happen. Yeah, Wes is Drephen's like that's Drephen. That was just a mistake from Wes. Unfortunately, it was probably a ledge dash. All right, just a simple combo. This is just like hard for Falco to catch up, especially when you're behind. Misses a combo. Yeah. So Wes is punishing. I mean, I think it's like that's pretty good. Okay, we see a near out of shield. Good recognition. Trades with a dare. That's definitely just like a Westballz or a Drephen thing. Okay.
We got Drephen.
That was like kind of a flub. Okay. So it's just, this is kind of like another subtle extension of realizing that West doesn't grab. Is like, look at how much like West. So you can run up grab, like run up shield pretty consistently because West isn't throwing lasers and he also doesn't grab. So it's like, it could be like a safe approach that if you catch Falco misspacing like an aerial, like you can just immediately nair. Like he's just like running up and shielding. Look at how much he's just shielding. And he just reads with a dare. Like,
The fall through from Westballz, but he misses a fair onto the platform.
so at the end of the game, like, I think was like really smart of Drephen was the fact that like he was just like realizing no lasers, no grabs, I can just run up and shield. And if I catch Falco mispositioning, I can just nair. And I think what was really good, and this is like a really subtle Drephen read, especially on Falco, is that if a Falco is like aerial shine, doing aerial on shield, and it's all short hops, like he can catch people with dare. So that's like a anti shield pressure thing that he has, and it's like really interesting. I don't know how I would integrate it. I don't have a feel for when dare works, but he's using it when he reads a certain type of pressure and he's calling it out with full hop dare. The good thing about full hop dare there is that he can use it, and if Falco's at like a decent percentage, it can lead into a combo extension. It's like Falcon Stomp. So like just like really good adaptations here, and like Drephen's just like a pretty experienced player. Like he's played Dope and old school Falco his entire life, and he's played Ginger a lot, but like these little adaptations that he made, like not jumping into like Falco as much, letting West make the play and then punishing it, and then waiting for Falco to full hop instead of jumping because he realized that West is not throwing that many lasers, that he could stay grounded. All these little things were really smart, and it was really amazing to see like that he's playing a completely different Falco than Ginger, but he's able to adapt within like a game. And Drephen's like really good. I think a lot of his punishes, like his edge guarding was pretty solid. But to be fair to West, like West messed up a lot of edge guards. He didn't kill fast enough. He flubbed, he did tournament winner instead of ledge dash. So there were a bunch of things that West could have done to win the game, but I'm very impressed that it went from a game one, like almost JV 4 stock, to it seemed like Drephen had a lot of control, and that's because he was adapting really well.